Hello, I'm Francine, host of Coping to Care, a podcast series sponsored by Blue Sea Care that features guests who share their expertise and life experiences to empower our loved ones in our community. Our aim is to serve as a friendly resource for seniors and their families. Today, our very special guest is Dr. Laverne Joseph, President and CEO of Retirement Housing Foundation. Welcome, Dr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Francine.
Great. Well, I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you were called to take on the wonderful role as president of Retirement Housing Foundation.
Well, this all begins in Pennsylvania where I was born, and I was very much into music then, and I had my own band. I thought my life was going to be in music, but then I was called into ministry and went to Ursinus College and Lancaster Theological Seminary, and then went for graduate work at the Chicago Theological Seminary, University of Chicago. But I was always going to go back to Pennsylvania, but then I was called to an associate position at Peace Memorial Church in Chicago, part-time associate, while I was going to school. And then when the senior minister moved on, they asked me 2 years out of seminary to take on this 1,400 member United Church of Christ. That church had vacated its parsonage many years before that and turned it into a nursing home, and then built a modern 50-bed skilled nursing home in a nearby suburb, which was 110 beds when I came there, and we expanded that to 240. And then I was asked to go onto the board of what was called the Evangelical Health Systems, a church-related hospital system. 2 hospitals when I started, 5 when I left. Today it's one of the largest systems in the country. And when I had to go off of that board, they asked me to come onto the board of Retirement Housing Foundation, headquartered in California. And then a year and a half after that, with our retiring executive, they asked me to come to California to serve RHF. We had about 64 communities then. Today we have 198. So it's been a great mission and one that I've enjoyed very much.
Wow, 198 now. So
198 communities in 29 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands.
wow, you've been busy.
Yes.
So the mission of Retirement Housing Foundation has always been to provide an environment for seniors that ensures quality of life physically, mentally, and spiritually. How have you helped to fulfill this mission as their leader?
Well, I've tried to reflect that, and one of the things that I've done, haven't done it recently with the pandemic, but is to get out into our communities, and the residents always enjoy talking with me and telling me about the difference that the RHF mission has made in their lives. We have about 24,500 residents now, and to tell you about something of the need, we have over 40,000 people on our waiting lists.
Wow, amazing. Now, are there a few stories and tips that you can share about the power of spirituality, being that you are a pastor, and especially for seniors who are living through their final years here on earth?
Well, there are lots of stories. When I talk with the residents, they often tell me about the difference that the RHF mission has made in their lives. They will tell me, for instance, that when they came to RHF, 6 or 8 years ago, they thought that they had about 2 years left in their life. But now they're going strong and they enjoy it very much. We have over 100 people who have celebrated 100 or more birthdays. In fact, I think our oldest is 107, and many of them are still living independently. Some of them, of course, live in our assisted living or skilled nursing. And one of the things that we've done uh, because our funders wanted us to do it is to provide family housing as well. And there is a big demand for affordable housing in our nation. Um, the stories that residents tell me have kind of energized me, and that's why I've kept going for many years beyond the normal 65, 66 retirement age.
Right. Yes, and you've been such a big advocate going to DC and advocating for senior issues. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, one of the things that what was then called the American Association of Homes and Services for the Aging, it's now called Leading Age. We used to do a lot of advocacy in person, and the first time that they asked me to do it, I spoke about affordable housing. And one of the persons that was on the panel, she was new to Congress at the time, was Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, wow.
After the testimony, she came down and she wanted to talk with me about the need for affordable housing in our country. I've testified a dozen times, not recently, because I don't think Leading Age is doing that, and maybe Congress doesn't have those panels anymore. The advocacy is largely done by email and snail mail today, but the importance of advocacy in our nation is critical. I remember once talking with a member of Congress because they had said in the hearing, well, we'll just send the people to skilled nursing. And as I said, we have skilled nursing, that is important. And I said, do you realize how much skilled nursing costs in comparison to affordable housing? And we talked more, and they said, now I understand.
Mhm. Right. It's if you could just have them live at home independently, it's much more reasonable. And the seniors seem to be much happier when they can still live independently with supported services, don't you think?
Right. And one of the things that happens frequently is um, living in an apartment building where they have people to talk to and their activities and so forth gives a new motivation on life. I've heard that many, many times. In fact, one of the stories from years ago was about a person who had whose family had brought them to one of our buildings because they had been told they didn't have many more weeks to live. And a couple of weeks later, the family came and the room was empty. And they asked the nurse, um, what happened? Did our mother die? And they said, oh no, she's down in the community room playing games and talking with people. And they went down there and she was having a wonderful time and she lived for years later.
Yes. Right. Because she had the social and the
Yeah.
warmth and the caring and the spirituality. That's one thing about Retirement Housing Foundation that sets itself apart from other providers. It's that it's based on spirituality and ethics and morals, and that's important when you're talking about our fragile elderly loved ones, especially.
It is extremely important. And one of the things I've always said to people is you can't make everybody happy. Some people have never been happy in their whole lives, and you're not, regardless of what you do, you're not going to make them happy. But we do resident satisfaction surveys, and everybody gets surveyed every other year. And we find that for a high majority of our residents, they are very happy to be living in a community where there's activities and people to talk to and security, and where they don't have to worry about paying the rent. Okay? I don't know what happened to you, but you froze up. I'm not hearing anything. And your face is not moving. Am I?